A road is just a road, but a Jeep SUV isn't just an SUV. Come see for yourself at the Jeep Start Something New sales event. Well-qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2020 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk 4x4 for $299 a month for 27 months with $3,409 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires due to contribution lease to Chrysler Capital. Extra charge for miles over 22,500. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 2/3/2020. Jeep is a registered trademark.
From the Kansas City Sports Update Studios, welcome to Kingdom Radio, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs. Brought to you by Arrowhead Update. Join Chris and Richard on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Player FM, CastBox, and all third-party applications. Check us out on Facebook platforms such as Kansas City Sports Update and Arrowhead Update. And if you cannot find us there, Google or search Kingdom Radio and Kansas City Chiefs, and you will find us. Welcome to the Kingdom.
How are we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to Kingdom Radio. I'm your host, Richard Smith, along with my senior NFL analyst and co-host, Chris Chavez. And tonight, we're here to break down probably the most important game of the last 50 years for the Kansas City Chiefs, the AFC Championship. The Chiefs made it to back-to-back AFC Championship games, and this year, Kansas City faces the Tennessee Titans and that train they call Derrick Henry. But look, we have a little bit of our own medicine in Patrick Mahomes, and I think everybody in Chiefs Kingdom feels confident. Chris, how are you feeling about this AFC Championship game? I mean, we're on the eve, and I mean, heck, we're about 14, 15 hours away. What are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% confident. I'd be really ignorant to say that, given that the prior history and looking at everything that the Tennessee Titans have done in the postseason. But I feel pretty good going up against this team tomorrow. I think that we have a very good shot to control the pace of the game as to shut down Derrick Henry, who has been their biggest weapon.
And so let's hop right into it, because the biggest talk around the league from many analysts and networks is Patrick Mahomes versus Derrick Henry. And obviously there's a lot more elements that go into this game, but when you really break it down, that seems to be the determining factors for both teams. And I would venture to say that if it comes down to those two, Patrick Mahomes would absolutely outplay Derrick Henry. So I look at this matchup as something that I'm sure the Kansas City Chiefs will be very prepared for, and will probably have we better have a better outcome than Week 10. But I imagine that the preparation will be top notch for this game. But Chris, let's kind of talk about that a little bit. What do you think about Derrick Henry here? Because this guy's a monster. He's averaging 180 in the playoffs, and since Week 10, I believe he's gone like 170, 225, 210. The man is just eating up yardage. How do you feel about this?
Absolutely, the guy's been on an absolute terror, especially the last 3 weeks. He's had over 180 yards in Week 17, and then the 2 playoff games. In order for him to reach that, though, he had to have 30-plus carries in all 3 of those games. Right. All season long, he has never done that, and they haven't had any time off. I'm hoping that Derrick Henry, with all those carries, has gotten a little beat up. We didn't really see it a whole lot last week, but I'm hoping he's kind of hiding something. He also hasn't been on the injury report at all. But I'm hoping that his legs are getting a little tired and that he's feeling it a little bit. Go ahead.
Well, I'll say with the offensive line like he has, they've made it quite easy for him to hit those holes and get to the second level. So he seems to be a player that gets better as the game goes on and gets stronger when everybody else kind of gets wore out. So this is one of those situations that, yes, we have seen Derrick Henry this season, I think that he is better than he was in Week 10, but I feel like our defense can handle him. I believe if Kansas City can hold him under 150, and I know that sounds crazy, I know that sounds nuts, but if the Chiefs can hold him under 150 and hold Ryan Tannehill to 150 yards passing, the Chiefs will win this game.
You know, the best way for us to do that is going to be to jump out early on the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and I looked at the games that they lost in which Derrick Henry played in, so that negated the Saints game. And in all of the games that they've lost with Tannehill and Henry, excuse me, the opposing team jumped out to an early first half lead, in which case that negated Derrick Henry because they can't run the ball and get back into the game. They're forced to have to throw the ball, which will play exactly into our hands because the strength of our defense is in the pass coverage.
Right.
And, I mean, now granted, we have had success in shutting down some run games, but Derrick Henry's a different beast. I think that we can then control him and minimize his effect on the game, but if we jump out early and we control the pace of the game and we keep it a high-scoring game, if we're efficient on all of our drives, if we're scoring touchdowns, not field goals, but touchdowns, we're going to force the Titans to have to keep up with us. And another thing to also look at is they have a kicker who hasn't attempted a field goal since he got assigned to the team over a month ago.
Wow. Hey, that could be really something, a story as well. We all know how kickers can be, especially for the Chiefs. I'm not even going to bring up his name, but that could really, really be a significant downfall for the Tennessee Titans.
For this kid to come into Arrowhead and have to attempt any field goal in any situation in our environment for the first time, he's going to shank it like crazy.
And I do want to mention this, and this is just a side note, and I think it's something really cool, and I'm surprised that the NFL or whatever agency is doing this has not done it before, but there is actually going to be sensors all over the stadium, noise sensors, and the NFL is going to be recording how loud Arrowhead Stadium gets, and all the fans know it. So this is going to be a scenario where the fans are going to be even louder than they typically are, and we could possibly break this world record again tomorrow. And it will be official because there's, official decibel reading tools, equipment all over the stadium. So that is another huge factor. And then the weather, let's think about that. Let's think about Tennessee. They're not exactly a team that likes to go play in cold weather. So, ground and pound football might not hurt them too much. I'm sure Derrick Henry is a beast no matter what element. But is that the same for Ryan Tannehill? That's the big question.
Because he's a Miami transplant, and although he played in the AFC East, I think that his experience as a quarterback in snow games or even frigid weather is minimal. And so I really don't think that he's going to be properly prepared for that sort of environment, with that weather tomorrow.
And another big thing, too, is this is Arrowhead Stadium. This is the AFC Championship Game. This is a whole other animal for a team like Tennessee. Kansas City obviously knows what it's like to play, the AFC Championship at Arrowhead Stadium because, it occurred last season. Obviously, we didn't, get the outcome that we wanted, but this season seems to be, a tad bit different. So what, given that, the whole dynamic of everything, even seeing the Lamar Hunt Trophy sitting in Arrowhead Stadium right now, there's so much hype behind this game. The players, I guarantee the Kansas City Chiefs are more pumped than, any of these players have been in their entire lifetimes. And I don't. Here's the best thing, and Chris, I really want to hear your perspective on this because I feel like Patrick Mahomes and our offense is not the type of offense to sputter 2 games in a row. I don't see us going down. I don't see Tennessee taking the lead from Kansas City, in the first quarter or even the first half. This is going to be a scenario where Kansas City is going to come out guns blazing, and Tennessee better be ready to rock, because you're absolutely right, Chris. Kansas City takes a 2-touchdown lead. That might take Derrick Henry out of the game completely.
Yeah, I think the best thing that happened for the Chiefs and the worst thing that could have happened for the Titans is what happened in the first quarter last week. We came out and we were sluggish.
Right.
We were not on our game. The time off seemed as if it had gotten to us a little bit. And then we kicked things into gear in the second quarter, and as we know, we absolutely took off from there. There is almost no way that all of the veterans on this squad allow that to happen a second game in a row.
No.
They're not going to allow that sort of performance. Kelsey's going to be making those catches. Mahomes is going to be hitting his targets. And, the offensive line is going to be blocking their heads off. I feel like we are going to come out seeing red, not just in the stands. We're going to be out for blood and for that Super Bowl and for the Lamar Hunt Trophy tomorrow, and there's going to be nothing in our way to stop us.
I completely agree. And here's another thing that plays right into the Chiefs' favor, which is going to be a great way for them to start out the game. And I think what is probably going to be the determining factor of the Chiefs going out a couple, scores ahead early. Tennessee, they love to play base and man, or love to play zone and man defense. And that just happens to be the two, base defenses that Kansas City rips apart and torches and tortures in any way they can. So if they come out and they play that man defense, look, before they can make any adjustments, it can be 21-0.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They don't have the secondary depth to keep up with us if they go man-to-man. If they go man-to-man, be looking for Hardman or even D-Rob to get a deep pass just to keep the ball moving, and then we'll keep matriculating the ball down the field.
I love the way you said that.
Zone, expect Hill and Watkins and Kelsey to eat them up all day long.
Oh, yeah. They will not be able to stop Kansas City. And like you said, if they're playing behind, that takes Derrick Henry out of the equation. And I don't want to say it takes him all the way out of the equation, but that's going to change about 40% of their play calling. And so that throws the whole game plan off. If Kansas City's defensive line and that second level can hold Henry and really live by bend, don't break, I feel like the Chiefs can take this victory home and we can walk right into the Super Bowl. This is a scary team, but they're not explosive like Kansas City. I don't see Derrick Henry rushing for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. I'm sorry, but you're going to see Patrick Mahomes throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's the difference maker right there. That's the difference maker. But back to our defense. Derrick Henry's the beast. This is the man between Kansas City and the Super Bowl. So, Spags, you're the man here. You are the guy that holds all this talent in your hands and ultimately holds the key for the Chiefs to get into the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years. Because we already know the offense is going to show up. This is going to come down to what it did last season. We were one play away. We were a D Ford offside penalty away from the Super Bowl last season. And now we are twice, 3 times as good on the defensive side of the ball as they were last season. So, Chris, let's talk about that. We got to stop Derrick Henry. So, We've got the best defense going into the league, or going to the playoffs in the league. All we got to do is keep it up. What can we do to stop this guy?
Everybody out there is probably thinking stack the box with 8-9 players and just play man coverage on the outside. And that's the complete opposite of what you actually want to do against Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is the number one running back against stacked boxes. And the reason why is because with their zone running game, they can take advantage of misdirection runs.
Right.
And then once he breaks through that first level where the linebackers have already attacked the line of scrimmage, he's basically just facing a cornerback and a safety. Whereas if you don't stack the box, you have 3 levels that he has to get through. He has to get through the defensive line, he has to get through the linebackers, and then he has to get through the secondary.
Right.
And what we have working for us is that we have corners who are willing to come down and make tackles. And so we're going to want to play a base, I'm just going to use the base defense as a term. Spags will mix it up a little bit. But we don't want to stack the box. We might want to make it, or give them that look that that's what we're doing, but we're going to drop a safety back or have them stay pat and not attack the line right away. And then they're going to see where that hole is and then attack Henry. And another thing that we also have working for us is that we have a former teammate of Derrick Henry's on our squad in Reggie Ragland. Ragland went up against him in practices and probably had to tackle him. Linebacker going up against running back, it just makes too much sense. And so he probably knows how to tackle Derrick Henry. And so he's going to be communicating with his teammates. But I think Frank Clark said it best. Because of his run style, he leaves himself open. Hit him low, take out his legs.
Right. And also I saw on social media that other teams and networks were saying that he was trash talking, and so is Tyreek Hill by saying that nobody can guard the Chiefs receivers, which is the truth. It's the truth, and I feel like this is the truth with Derrick Henry as well. They've got to find a weakness, and hey, if they did and he knows, let's exploit that weakness, and turn that into a positive for the Chiefs. Because look, if they go low and they're just willing to put their shoulder into him, we got this. And this is an AFC Championship game. You better put your body on the line for this game. I don't care who you are. You better step in front of Derrick Henry every chance you get. And you know who I look to have a big game here, outside of Ragland and Clark and those guys? Daniel Sorensen. I'll tell you what, he came in with some pretty clutch plays this past week. And heck, I say we put him as that spy out there on defense and let him do his thing, especially, with Thornhill being out. Let's let him sit back and wait for Derrick Henry, because that man's not scared to step in front of anybody.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the best move. And in our last game against the Titans, Sorensen had 9 tackles, and he was our leading tackler. And I think that we're probably going to implement a little bit more of that same philosophy that we did then. The other thing that is also kind of, I won't say troubling, but a point to point out, is that the Titans' offensive line is healthy, and they've been extremely good. So when we play the Titans, we were able to get 4 sacks against them. I don't think that we get another 4-sack game against them, simply because I don't think that, I think in the second half we'll have the opportunities. In the first half, I think Tennessee is going to keep running the ball and hope that they can get back into the game. But I feel that by second half, they're going to have to abandon the run and be forced to throw the ball more, so we're going to get more opportunities. But their offensive line is extremely good, and unless we bring a blitz, blitzing linebackers and safeties, and a blitzing landlord. I don't know if we're going to get to that 4-sack total, but I'm okay with that. I would rather not get any sacks and not give up any big plays and win the game. In the playoffs, I don't care about sacks. I just want to see that we get that win however it happens.
Yes, and this is an all-important win, and everybody knows this scenario. This is an AFC Championship game, win or go home. Chris, let's talk about the injury report here real quick, because I'm looking at the Tennessee Titans depth chart, and I see, a couple offensive starters that are questionable in right tackle Jack Conklin and wide receiver Adam Humphries, both questionable. So, obviously we want to play each team's best. But I'll tell you what, if that right tackle is out or has an off day or a mediocre day because of a nagging injury, that'll be huge for Kansas City.
Yeah, if any of these players have any sort of limitation in movement or speed at all, I think that works in our favor. And the Titans have a lot more players who are questionable, who are banged up, who are starters than the Chiefs do.
Right.
So I think it definitely, quote unquote, works in our favor. And like you said, Conklin and two of their wide receivers are banged up, but their defense is certainly banged up. They've got 3 linebackers who are questionable for this game, and their 2 starting cornerbacks are questionable. One with an injury or a nagging foot, and then the other one with an illness. He didn't practice on Wednesday, and he was full participant on Thursday, Friday. So he probably got over that illness. But and Logan Ryan has been their star defensive player this entire playoffs, and I think that he's going to be the guy we kind of have to focus on beating. In the last game, he was beatable. Their entire secondary was beatable. Mahomes threw for 446 yards against these guys. But these guys can make tackles. Right. So I don't expect to see a whole lot of yards after the catch. I think that they're going to keep everything in front of them, which is fine by me. We'll throw a 20-yard drive or a 20-play drive against you guys and move down the field, taking a few yards here, a few yards there, and we'll get into the end zone. That's fine.
I feel like Kansas City's we're gonna burn them on a lot of confusion, just because look, when we send guys in motion pre-snap, like you and I talked about the show before, to expose the defense and what they're doing. I'll tell you what. If you are playing man defense against the Kansas City Chiefs for even half of this game, it's over. And I know that, the best thing for Tennessee to do would be to keep Kansas City in front of them. But, if you're playing zone defense and man, the chances of Kansas City getting behind you are so much greater. And they are great tacklers. I will give you that. I don't want to give their defense too much credit, especially with the type of defense that they run and their scheme. There's a lot of question marks. And especially, like you said, with these questionable players, the weak side linebacker, the inside linebacker, right and the left, the cornerback, Adoree Jackson. There's just a lot of question marks. But I don't want to take away from anything that you're saying, because as them being a tackling team, and that's what they need to do against the Kansas City Chiefs. The yard after catch kills teams against Kansas City.
Yeah, and another thing I also want to throw out there about their defense, while we're on that subject, is they have a very good front line that's going to get pressure up the middle. So our guards, our center are going to be under a lot of stress. They're going to be bringing pressure from their outside linebacker position in Harold Landry, who was their leading sack getter at outside linebacker. So be expecting Mahomes to have to move around a little bit and get into some open space. He might even take off and get some long runs here. But I expect for him to move around, extend the play, let the wide receivers get open, and then find Kelsey, find Cheetah downfield for a 10, 15-yard get, and just keep moving that play call.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. This, outside of the Super Bowl, this should be the game that Andy Reid just puts the ball in Mahomes' hands and says, go get it, kid. I mean, this is your game right here. It's yours to win. It's yours to lose. Losing is not an option. That's not going to happen. But I feel this, Chris. This is my big thing. The Kansas City Chiefs couldn't have a better opportunity against a defensive unit in the AFC Championship game than the Chiefs do against Tennessee. I feel more confident playing against a Tennessee defense than I would a Baltimore, more than I would a New England. But I feel good about this scenario regardless of that monster on the other side of the ball. And I don't want to take any credit away from Tennessee either. I mean, we should talk about Ryan Tannehill just a second. I know that he's a Florida guy and has spent a lot of time in, the South. But the man has been spot on since replacing Mariota, I believe, in like week 9 or week 10. So, once they have to change their game plan from Derrick Henry to, the passing game, what will the Chiefs have to do to stop Tannehill? Because this is somebody that they cannot sleep on.
Yeah, so they've been leaning rather heavily in the regular season anyways on their rookie wide receiver, A.J. Brown, their big-name wide receiver, Corey Davis. Ever since they made the move to Tannehill, he just hasn't been that guy in this offense. Mm-hmm. A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, the tight end, have been the guys. Their wide receiver, Khalif Raymond, has been a big play target all the entire second half of the season as well. Ajay Sharp has been a reliable receiver for them when they need a big play. Hey, they can rely on him for the first down to make the catch. I think that they're probably going to rely very heavily on the play action pass early and often. Even in the second half when they're trying to come back, they're going to try to utilize that play action pass attack. And our corners and our safeties just can't bite on that, especially like they did in the first quarter last week with that bubble screen. Can't give them any big plays, can't give up the big touchdowns and let them get back into the game. If they're going to get back in the game, they need to earn it and make a big, long drive, multiple plays, in which is going to eat off clock, which is going to be fine for us because it's going to eat clock and it's going to work in our favor that way.
What's crazy is I think about this scenario of, how the Chiefs should play Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. And I feel like the Chiefs should just play defense exactly like Tennessee is going to play Kansas City. And simply because it's best to fall back on Derrick Henry and go after him instead of him coming after you. You know what I mean? Hit the point of attack instead of the point of attack hitting you. But sometimes you got to wait till somebody gets through that hole, and that's okay. Also, the play action. You're right about that. That's a huge factor in this, and I guarantee you teams have bit on that, all throughout the second half of this season. And if we're playing back, we're playing in a zone and we're playing in man defense, I feel like the Chiefs will not bite on the play action as much, especially with the landlord back there at safety. That makes me feel really, really good about things because when you have a vocalist, who's calling the play action, that's big. That's a huge deal. The faster that this, the play gets spotted, the faster, players can react. And yeah, I think that if we just stick to that defense, what do you think about them playing Tennessee-style defense, against them? Because obviously they're playing it for a reason, and they know they've seen Derrick Henry more than anybody in the league. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I feel like we just mirror what they're playing.
I think that we need to stick with our own style of defense. And I hear what you're saying, but I think that we need to stick with what we know and what we're doing, because Spags has done a great job of shutting down run teams and strong running games. After the Tennessee game, we were able to really shut some teams down.
Well, I think you're taking me a little bit too literally on that. I'm not saying, like, go play for what they're doing. Obviously, that's not, like, nobody would ever do that.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. As far as, like, attacking, I think that we need to probably send one linebacker at the line, but then keep two, especially the linebacker on the backside of the play, because that is where Henry has been getting a lot of his yardage is on those cutbacks, because the back end tackle is able to create a hole, or the guard is able to create a hole that he can cut back through, and he's just got open space that he can take to the outside. But the majority of his big runs have been outside of the tackle. Up the middle, he's looking at about 3-4 yards, but that's where he breaks you down, and he gets you lulled to sleep thinking that that's where they're going to be running, and then he busts one outside of the tackle, and that's where he gets his big chunk yards, because that's where nobody's out there. Because with these other teams, especially looking at Baltimore, they have quarterbacks who are not going to be willing to tackle. Marcus Peters, he hated tackling.
Right.
And you have a 250-pound monster coming at you, who you aren't going to stop a 200-yarder or a 200-pounder, but you got a 250 guy coming at you. Yeah, you're going to step in there and make that tackle. There's no way.
Right.
With our corners, they're willing to do that, and it's just going to be a matter of gap discipline. That's one of the reasons why we gave up that 68-yarder to him in the regular season, is somebody missed their gap and overshot it. And then the other thing is limit mistakes. We cannot have as many mistakes in this game as we did in the first meeting.
Right.
No turnovers, especially earlier on, because that gives them the opportunity to put points on the board and keep them in the game. And then special teams, oh my gosh, good snaps, good holds, and hopefully we don't need to take any unnecessary field goals, but make the kicks, you guys. No blocks.
Right. There's been a lot of special teams blunders this season, but I'll tell you what, our special teams has never been able to get into a rhythm the last 2 seasons, which is expected, but this is a huge game, and we do need to have 0 mistakes, really all the way through. This is it. This is for everything, and obviously the Super Bowl is for everything, but we haven't achieved that in 50 years, so this is the landmark. This is the turning point right here, and look, it's win and you're in. I mean, hey, we're 1 game away from the Super Bowl, Kansas City. This is a big deal here, and if they can just execute, all they gotta do is execute. I'm more worried about this team than any team on the NFC side. I'm just gonna say that, and there's some talent over there. 49ers aren't looking too bad, and that bad man Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. But with all of that being said, Kansas City, this is the AFC Championship game, and we are less than 24 hours away. It's time to take care of business. That's all Chiefs got to do is take care of business. Win this game. Take us home. Bring the Lombardi Trophy to Kansas City. Let's keep the Lamar Hunt Trophy in Kansas City. There's a lot of big things going on here tomorrow, and I feel like the Chiefs will be prepared. So let's talk about the head coaching matchup here. Andy Reid versus Mike Vrabel. We watched Mike Vrabel simply out-coach Bill Belichick in the wild card round, a few short weeks ago. So how do the Chiefs, how does Andy Reid prepare? What's the different preparation for him compared to, any other championship game that he's been in? Because the man is 1-4 in AFC and NFC championships and 0-1 in the Super Bowl. So what's different for Andy Reid? How can he outcoach Mike Vrabel? What's he got to do here?
What he's probably going to do is in the first quarter test out what he's seeing on defense. What are they doing on defense? Analyze it. And this is also why we've been so great in the second quarter all season long, is we figure out what they're doing rather quickly. And then we make the adjustments. We don't wait until halftime to make the adjustments. We do it in the second quarter, and we absolutely obliterate teams in the second quarter.
Right.
I'm knowing Vrabel, he's absolutely going to try to hide things and have plans for plans and so on and so forth. But he's never faced an Andy Reid offensive mind, and Andy Reid has plays for days stuck up in his head, and I think that he's going to out-duel Vrabel tomorrow.
Yes, and I feel like that's the difference between Andy Reid and Bill Belichick this season is, let's just be frank, the Kansas City Chiefs have a better team. The roster top to bottom trumps the New England Patriots. And that has a big factor to do with that Tennessee game as well. It wasn't all just Vrabel. You have Derrick Henry and Tannehill's doing his thing, and your defense is stepping up, and you're playing a declining Patriots team. The dynasty had to end at some time, and I'm going to say it. It's over. It's over. So, but then they go and they beat the Ravens, which I'm going to put that on Lamar Jackson's shoulders. I can't. That was Lamar Jackson and some other things. They just were outcoached and outplayed. But I don't see them being able to manhandle the Chiefs like they have these other teams. And Andy, go ahead.
If they could get their hands on us, they could maybe manhandle us. But we're too fast for them to catch, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yep, and I really don't either. And so, Chris, let's go ahead and do these predictions. Well, before we do that, what about Chris Jones? How are we looking with Chris Jones?
So Chris Jones was a limited participant in practice on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
All week long, he did not practice. He's officially listed as questionable for the game. But given that he was limited, I am extremely hopeful that he plays. I definitely think that in this game, more so than the last one, we need him.
Yes.
However, I will also say this. He's not as good in the run game as he is in the passing game. And if he is truly out, I think that it would work in our favor early on in the game to have more run stuffers in there.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to miss him in the second half when Tennessee is trying to throw the ball and get back into the game. We're going to miss him then.
But as it sounds, with him being, having limited practice, at least he's back in practice and has had a few more days. Obviously, this is going to be a game-time decision. And I'm with you on that. There's depth there at defensive line that, is better suited for the run game. So this isn't such a bad thing for Kansas City. But at the same time, we could definitely use his skills here in this AFC Championship game. Chris, what else do you have to add here? We've talked about the offense, special teams, defense, quarterbacks. What else do you want to add here? Because this is the AFC Championship game, and this is going to be our last chance, to talk to Chiefs Kingdom before they hit the field here on what's probably the most important game in our lifetimes.
Something I want to talk about that no one in the media has even mentioned
mm-hmm.
is experience.
Yes.
Looking at this game, the Chiefs have the experience of having been in this situation before and lost.
Right.
At home.
Right.
There is absolutely no way that Andy Reid Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Tyreek is going to allow that to happen again.
Couldn't agree more.
Frank Clark, landlord, they came in, they saw what we experienced. They wanted to be a part of this, and they are not going to allow that to happen tomorrow. These guys are going to be playing in probably before the first whistle and giving their 100% effort, if not more than that. They're going to find effort like in the creases of their souls that they never knew that they had before. These guys are going to be playing lights out tomorrow because of the experience that they've been in this situation before. Tennessee, this is their first time. They're going to allow their nerves to get to them, as well as the experience of being in Arrowhead, playoff Arrowhead, right. AFC Championship Arrowhead.
Right.
They don't know what that's like. Yeah. It's going to be madness in there, and they are not going to know how to handle it.
No, they will not. And I will say, Arrowhead, I said this last game, I don't care if we have new seats or not, pound on the back of those seats as hard as you can. Make some noise, because that's going to be a determining factor here, because Tennessee, you can't prepare for the noise at Arrowhead Stadium. You just can't.
Bring some metal spoons and tap them on the chairs in front of you. Find the screws, find the metal components, whack on those things, get it as loud as possible, you guys.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I will say that I can only imagine how loud that place is going to be. It's going to be rocking from start to finish. You know, Clark Hunt is banging the drum. The hype couldn't be any bigger. It could not be any bigger for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is Super Bowl or bust. That's really where we're at. So, Chris, you know, I've got to say, I'm extremely confident about this game tomorrow. You know, I have some skepticism like everyone else, but it's not like last season. I'm not sitting here biting my nails wondering, you know, this isn't a back and forth. This could go either way. This is, if the Chiefs don't execute, they will lose. If the Chiefs execute, they'll blow this team out of the water, in my mind. So that's all that really comes down to. There's no
I can totally see that.
There's no question marks, you know, in our defense. There's no question marks in our offense. It's put up or shut up, and that's all it is. That's what time it is put up or shut up. So, Chris, let's do some predictions here. AFC Championship 2020, Kansas City Chiefs, Tennessee Titans. Who you got? What's your score?
Obviously, I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Of course.
I think that the game's going to be dictated earlier on, so we're not going to have as many opportunities to score. I don't think that we're going to be anywhere near what we put up against the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be 35-24, Kansas City.
35-24. That is an interesting number, and it usually seems to be an interesting scored game when Tennessee and Kansas City hook up. I think my score is much like yours, but I'm gonna jump up a little bit more. I'm gonna say it's gonna be 42-24. Kansas City's gonna jump out early and just keep control of this game and not let Henry kill us. You know, like I was saying before, Henry's not going to run for 5 touchdowns and rush for 300 yards. But Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. And if that happens, that's all we need. That's all Kansas City needs right there, is that performance by Patrick Mahomes in the biggest game of his career up to this point. So, Chris, before we get off here, you know, I'm going to let you say one more thing here to Chiefs Kingdom, because this is it. This is it. We're almost here, Chris. We're almost here. It's AFC Championship time.
Chiefs Kingdom, regardless of how things go in the first quarter, the first half, the third quarter, keep in mind that your Chiefs offense is built to come back. They are built to score points quickly and often. And the defense, yeah, they might give up plays here, there, whatever. they are so much better than they were last year. Do not badmouth them. Don't start booing in any way, shape, or form. Just cheer them on. It's been a great season, regardless of how things have gone, and they are so much better for it. And just get excited, get loud, get pumped wherever you're at. Let them hear you. Even if you're around the world, on the other side, where it's nighttime, whatever, get loud. Let people around you know that you are part of Chiefs Kingdom and that you're rooting on your Chiefs tomorrow.
Hey, it's the biggest game in 50 years coming up tomorrow at Arrowhead Stadium. It is the AFC Championship Game, and the Lamar Hunt Trophy is on the line here. And let's finally bring this thing home where it belongs. This is the year, Kansas City. This is the year. Look, I'm not going to put any negativity out there. I don't feel like Chiefs Kingdom should put any negativity out there, especially with what we watched this past week. Chiefs Kingdom, we've got a squad. We got the best chance to go to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl this season. Get loud tomorrow. Let's break another world record. And look, let's take this right into Super Bowl Sunday, because I don't see us letting up. I see Kansas City Chiefs starting out strong and ending strong and putting a statement on this AFC Championship Game and anybody who they may face on the NFC side. So Kansas City, you have a great night. Enjoy this game tomorrow. Eat some barbecue. Don't get too hammered before the game, because you got to remember it. Here in the fourth quarter, we still want you cheering the Chiefs on. We don't want you puking in the bathroom. So have fun, Kansas City. Enjoy this game tomorrow. And let's pave this road to the Super Bowl, because, hey, we're almost there. We're right there, one win away. We got the Tennessee Titans and Derrick Henry in our way. It's time, Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, kid, the time is yours. This is you. Andy Reid, you deserve this more than anybody in the NFL. More than anybody. Now go get it done. Go get it done, Kansas City. This is Kingdom Radio, and I'm your host, Richard Smith, along with my senior NFL analyst and co-host, Chris Chavez. Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs, baby. Go Chiefs. Let's hit this Super Bowl, and let's get a Lombardi trophy. Let's take it home, Kansas City. Have a great night.
Thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Radio, your go-to podcast for everything Kansas City Chiefs.
A road is just a road, but a Jeep SUV isn't just an SUV. Come see for yourself at the Jeep Start Something New sales event. Well-qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2020 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk 4x4 for $299 a month for 27 months with $3,409 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires due to contribution lease to Chrysler Capital. Extra charge for miles over 22,500. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 2/3/2020. Jeep is a registered trademark.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.